area as the development comes, but also be an enticement for potential industrial development at the industrial park. Sewer projects that are upcoming, we currently have 8 pump stations that are either under design or very nearly going to be under design for rehab. We have 165 pump stations, so we do quite a few a year that need rehabbing. 4002 is a basin on the mainland that serves most of downtown Brunswick. CIPP is cured in place piping, and what that does is it allow us to create a new pipe inside the structure of the old pipe without having to dig up the road. So we're fixing to put out about 30,000 linear feet of CIPP work in that downtown Brunswick district. North Mainland WPCF, Water Pollution Control Facility, we are hoping to finalize property acquisition and begin engineering a new wastewater facility at exit 42. With all the growth that is going in that district right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense long term for us to continue to pump from exit 42 back to downtown Brunswick. So we're hoping to install a new wastewater facility up there that will increase capacity in that area and also increase capacity on the rest of the mainland as we take that flow off of what's coming to the plant in downtown Brunswick right now. 3103 is on the south end. That's in Royal Oaks subdivision. That takes all of the flow from the port and some additional commercial development down there. That station needs some updating and some new capacity due to some expansion projects that have gone on down there. So we're going to be rehabbing that and putting in increased force main sizing. And the force main is the pipe that you pump the water through. And then the same thing up at 4119 is at the end of the spur 99. Again, with all that residential development that's coming along Highway 99, that station needs some improvement as well. But that is why we collect capital improvement fees on new connections so that we can do projects like this and maintain our system ahead of residential development. So our budget for next year, our overall budget for next year is $35.97 million. That is up from $34.4 million for this year. In order to facilitate the budget, we are proposing a 25-cent per 1,000-gallon increase in the sewer usage rate. Last year we did a minor increase in water. This year the increase in sewer usage, again, 25 cents per 1,000 gallons above the first 1,000 gallons because that's included in your base fee. So that means the average residential bill will go about 80 cents a month. Our average customer uses about 4,200 gallons of water per month. So our average residential customer will see an 80-cent per month change. So our total budget increase is 4.6%, but the rate increase is 1.3%. And then the last 4 years combined, we did a total of 2.1% worth of adjustments. So how do we keep going up on our budget without necessarily having to go up on our rates and not going up near as much? Because we're adding a whole lot of new customers with the growth that we're seeing, particularly on the mainland right now, and some commercial and residential growth. So our budget has been increased without necessarily passing all of that on to our customer base. So why are we having to increase? 3 areas we've seen substantial increases. Chemicals, the chemical market for both water and sewer treatment has nearly doubled in the past year, not because of our usage, but because of the rates they're charging to bring it to us right now. Electricity, you probably are aware if you're a Georgia Power customer that June 1st your bill's going up approximately 16%. So unfortunately we pay those bills as well, and so 16% on us ends up being a sizable amount of money. And then property insurance, the commercial property insurance market has went absolutely insane the last few years. So our property insurance went up about 40% as well. So those are large ticket items that have hit the budget. There's minor increases the rest of the way in some areas, but those are huge areas that have hit our budget very difficult in the last year. So customer service, I'll go through the first 3 that we go through every year. We do offer automatic bill pay. I had a customer complain that the automatic bill pay was not working. You do have to wait until your bill is due for your automatic bill pay to work. It will come out of your account the day your bill is due. So if your bill is due June the 10th, if you pay June the 7th, it will never come out of your account automatically. So wait till June the 10th. Paperless billing. We do offer paperless billing. We've got about 5,000 customers taking paperless bills right now. So if you'd like to get an email bill each month, we can do that for you. For if you're moving or starting new service, we can do that with an online application now. And then the major new thing is a lockbox location is changing. A lockbox is where you mail your check into each month. The most common question I get from customers about our billing practices is, why do I mail my check to Orlando, Florida? That's because that's where the check processing center is, and they scan all those for us. Well, we changed banks, and with the changing of the bank, become July 1st, that servicing center is being transferred to Charlotte. So your bill will now be mailed, your check will now be mailed to Charlotte. So if your bill is due after July 1st, it will now say that you're mailing it to Charlotte. You're still paying us, it's just which processing center it's actually going to. So that is a much more cost-effective way for us to actually take checks and scan them and get all that system information put into the system without having to manually do that entire process. We are continuing our deposit refunds. It's a monthly process now. The LIWOP program, LIWOP is the Low Income Housing Water Assistance Program. It was a federal program started with some of the COVID bills that were put out. There were not always, for several years, there's been an energy program similar to this, but they started this for the water program. In the first year of that program, we were able to help 796 customers for a total of nearly $350,000 with their water bills. And that program hopefully will continue to be funded because that is a big help for us. And they got some people with some past due bills paid off, and plus, I think up to $500 or $600 towards new bills in some situations. And then if you are worried that you're going to forget to pay your bill, you can sign up for text message notifications, and we will send you a note a couple of days before your bill is, your water is going to be cut off and say, hey, you forgot to pay your bill, please come by and pay your bill so you don't get your water disconnected. We do know that occasionally people do forget, and we don't want to disconnect anybody that we don't absolutely have to. And then these maps are in the room if you want to look at them a little more. These are areas that we have current projects or planned projects upcoming. On the left, the blue stars are all the water projects, and you can see a lot of stuff going on all across our county. South end of St. Simons has got a few projects on the books, a lot in the North Mainland District, and then one down there, that Exit 29 new elevated storage tank and well site at Exit 29 District. And on the sewer side, you see a lot of green stars on there. That's a lot of pump station work that we're doing and some of the other projects we talked about. So again, doing a lot of projects all throughout our county. So if you drive around Glynn County, it's almost impossible not to see one of our crews out there doing something right now. So making progress, hopefully speeding up the progress right now with some of the contractor shortages that we're having. That's delayed a little progress, but hopefully we're gaining that momentum back. And with that, there's my contact information. You can call or email me. Email is typically a better way to get in touch with me because I'm in and out of my office so much. But if you need something, there's the information. And with that, I will open it up to any questions anybody might have. Yes, sir.
As far as you mentioned something about new filter you install out there at Cabin Creek treatment plant that went downtown in the city. And it sounded like you said 5 and down to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're not just meeting, but you're exceeding your
Our permit limit is 15 parts per million, so we're taking it from 5 down to 1 on that. So it just helps everything out, and it's, we want to do the best we can for our water quality in our region, so being good stewards of the water that we're provided. Any questions online, Jay? All right. This is broadcast on Facebook if anybody is looking for something to see later. Any other questions? We will be here till 8, so probably do the presentation maybe one more time if anybody else does show up. But we do have staff here available to answer questions if you have any. And if you are watching online and want to come visit us, feel free to join us. And then we will also be doing this tomorrow night at Howard Coffin Park on the mainland. So you have another opportunity tomorrow night. And with that, thank you very much. Village Phase 2.
Village, yeah, Village Phase 2. We got a couple, yeah.
And can you get me an easement? And can you get me an easement? Ready to go, Jay? All right. Well, we are down here at the casino on St. Simon's Island. This is our annual JWSC Town Hall meeting on St. Simon's for 2023. We are required to hold town hall meetings every year following the approval of our budget to discuss the budget and rates for the upcoming year. So we have staff members on hand to answer questions you may have about their individual disciplines, and then I'll do a presentation here going over some of the work we accomplish in the big picture, some construction projects we have underway and plan to take on here shortly, the update on the budget for next fiscal year, which begins July 1st, our customer service offerings, and again, some more project maps at the end. So in the big picture, we do a lot of things on every individual day in small chunks, and it adds up to a lot of work. So in the last 12 months, we have cleaned 73 miles of gravity sewer. That involves sticking a jetter hose in a line, jetting the debris that may have settled out in the line away, and vacuuming that out of the sewer system. 73 miles, just for reference, is roughly the distance from Brunswick to Baxley if you laid it end to end. We do about 65 to 75 miles a year for the past 3 to 4 years, so we are trying to get our system cleaned once every 5 years, so we're getting close on starting over again with that. We also cameraed or televised 28.5 miles of gravity sewer last year. That involves sticking a camera inside the line and inspecting the inside so we can tell where we need to do rehab work. 28 miles is the distance from Brunswick to Woodbine. While we were cleaning and televising, we removed 324 tons of debris. We remove a lot of debris from the lines that settles out, particularly sand and other fine particles that don't stay in suspension while the water's flowing. 324 tons, just for reference, is roughly the weight of 4 space shuttles that were brought out each through the last year. At the 3 wastewater plants we run a wastewater plant at Exit 29, the main wastewater plant in downtown Brunswick that serves the entire mainland district, and then one here on St. Simon's Island. We pumped and treated 3.58 billion gallons of wastewater. That works out to 5,500 Olympic swimming pools of water that was treated. That works out to about 15 Olympic-sized pools per day that we could fill up leaving our wastewater plants, about 9.8 million gallons per day. We removed at the wastewater plant with the biological processes we have just over 2,800 tons of solids. That's the weight of approximately 1,200 African rhinos. So every day, about 3 rhinos worth of solids is removed at the wastewater plant. On the water side, we pumped 3.01 billion gallons of clean water. Now, that is a smaller number than the wastewater number you see. So how do you make more sewer than you do water? Well, you don't. There's 2 reasons we have more sewer than water, and that is from groundwater and rainwater that gets in our system, and also we have large sewer-only customers on the mainland, and one on St. Simon's that increases the sewer flow compared to the water. The 3.01 billion gallons, a lot of people like to stop and get a coffee on the way in, so 3.01 billion gallons is 18.8 billion venti cups of Starbucks coffee. I did not do the math on what that would cost you if you bought that many Starbucks coffees. But that works out to 51.5 million coffees per day. I drank a lot of coffee, but I don't get anywhere near 51.5 million cups a day. Our planning and construction group handles private development work throughout Glynn County, doing reviews of plans and inspections of infrastructure as it's going in. In the past year, we've added 628 new service locations. That does not necessarily mean there's a house built there, but there is access to service for 628 new parcels in Glynn County. And then we installed 697 new meters. Those are actual new customers that were brought online in the past 12 months. We have more new meters than new service locations because they may establish service at 100 lots in a subdivision at one time, and then they come online with the meters as they build the houses. And then we did $16.9 million in capital projects in the past year. So we're close to $60 million worth of capital project work in the past 3 years, with another probably 15 to 20 million coming up next year. And then in our lobby down at Gloucester Street, we handled 49,883 transactions. That's just people that came in and paid their bill. That works out to a little over 4,000 customers per month coming into our lobby to pay. So that's a little over 10% of our customer base comes by each month and pays either cash, check, or swiping their credit card in the lobby. So a few ongoing or recently completed water projects for us to highlight here. Mall and Oglethorpe EST is elevated storage tank or water tower. And those are two 500,000 gallon water towers that were recently repainted, one on the mainland and one on St. Simons. Galvanized water mains is an ongoing project to remove galvanized water mains from our system, and then we have been for the past 18 months replacing all the water meters in our system, and we are making good progress on that. So here are some pictures of the two tanks that are recently painted. The one on the left there is the mall tank that is cleverly named because it's adjacent to Glen Place Mall. But we have painted that tank, and they're doing some punch list work out there. But just this week, they painted the College of Coastal Georgia's logo on that tank. We partnered with the college. They paid for that logo to be installed there. And so that'll be a nice signpost for them coming in that district there as they try to expand the college. And then here is the Oglethorpe tank, and this is the brackets. You see the brackets that are welded on that are hanging off here. And then they have these strings that come down. There's actually used to be a curtain there because they curtain the tank so that when they blast the old paint off of it, the paint doesn't get flying everywhere, and also allows them to keep it contained and clean it up better at the end. So that one's on the north end of St. Simons, and that one also is very near completion. They're just working on punch list items at that location. Here we have some galvanized water mains that are removed from the system. Galvanized water mains were installed mostly in the 50s and the 60s. And there's two problems that we tend to find with galvanized water mains. One, it corrodes on the inside. You get a buildup of tuberculation on the inside of the pipe. That's the stuff that grows on the inside here. This is a 2-inch water main. You see the tuberculation that's grown up, so there's probably an inch worth of water going through there, which is not half the flow, but more like a third of the flow going through that pipe. And then on the right here, you can see there is a hole in this pipe that was brought out of the ground. So if there's a hole there, that means water is spraying out into the ground. Sometimes that can just leak out in our sandy soils and you'll never notice it, and sometimes you notice it very quickly. But a lot of those water lines are leaking on our side of the meter, so you're not getting billed for that material, but it is something that we're wasting water on the ground, so we are going through replacing that. We've got about 35 miles of this in our system, and we've replaced about 3.5 miles of it thus far, so about 10% of that has been removed from our system. The new water meters we're installing, we've got about 22,500 water meters replaced thus far of the approximately 30,000 that need replacing. So we have a couple of examples here of the new data we can get off these new meters. These meters can be read from our office. We don't have to send anybody out to do this, and we automatically get a lot of good information about your water usage that can help you pinpoint where you might be using too much water. So this is an example here. We have on the left there data from a monthly reading that shows in the months of June and July of last year low usage at this location, and in the month of August a substantially higher jump in usage, and then back to normal in September and October. Then we look at the daily readings for that month of August, and we notice that there's very little flow most days of the month, but 3 days, Sunday the 14th through Tuesday the 16th, we had substantial amounts of water being used during that period. And we can get down to the hour level, and down at the hour level you see this customer was using water 5 gallons an hour from 7 to 9 in the morning, started picking up at 10, a little more at 11, and then about 250 gallons an hour thereafter for the next 3 days if I extended the chart out. So this actually is a church where a faucet was left on in a children's restroom for 3 days. So we were able to pinpoint this once they got their bill in. They wanted to know what happened, and the cleaning lady had turned the water off when she found it and didn't notify anybody. And we determined what occurred was the child left the water running for 3 days. So sizable bill went out that month for that customer. And here's a more classic feature. This is a classic toilet flapper that is leaking in someone's house. If you hear water running in your toilet and no one is in there, that flapper is leaking. And this customer was using about 8 gallons an hour. So this is a 24-hour period. We have this graph here. And at no point where they're not using water. Now, typically, most of us sleep in the middle of the night, so your usage should go to 0 or very close to 0 in the middle of the night. This customer was using 8 gallons an hour even when they were not at home. And this is a classic toilet flapper. The 8 gallons an hour works out to about 5,760 gallons per month of water that you're paying for just because it's running in your toilet. That works out to about $50 a month on your water bill that it could be adding up. So the average person uses about 100 gallons of water a day. So if you do the math on how many people are in your house and you're using substantially more than that, this may be a place you can look at for trying to pinpoint why your water usage is higher than it seems like it should be. So on ongoing or recently completed projects, the North Mainland, these are sewer projects. The North Mainland Sewer Basin Reroute Project was a large project that was completed last summer, just after we held these meetings last year. WPCF is a water pollution control facility. That is an engineering word for a wastewater plant. You can always tell when a wastewater plant was designed and put into use, because at one point they were called sewer treatment plants. And then somebody decided sewer was not very PC anymore, and they started calling them wastewater treatment plants. Then they broke down and called them water pollution control facilities. And the new ones are called water resource recovery facilities. So you can always tell kind of the vintage of your wastewater plant by what they call it. So Academy Creek's on the mainland and Dunbar Creek's on the island. And then water and sewer service extensions is something we're focusing on as a commission to provide service potential to customers that currently are not available. So this is the North Mainland Sewer Basin Reroute. This yellow line you see here is a new pipe that runs from a pump station on Harry Driggers Boulevard adjacent to North Glen Park that runs all the way down Harry Driggers and Canal, underneath Canal Crossing at the intersection right here of the spur, and terminates at a gravity basin off of Old Jessup Road on Ogden Road. That's about 18,000 linear feet of pipe that was installed, and this is them making the final connection last year on that pipe to tie the sections together. That project was completed with SPLOST 2016 funds and opened up about 1 million gallons a day of capacity in the North Mainland District. And this is the Academy Creek facility in downtown Brunswick. So we did a lot of work here. This project was just wrapped up in March or April. So starting from the front of the plant here, this cylinder here you see is about 30 foot tall. It looks very small here from this drone photo, but it's about 30 foot tall when you go out there. That is a new odor control tower that drafts the gases out of the tank and treats them before it's released to the atmosphere. And then we put some covers on inside this tank here to enclose that so we could actually draft it out. This concrete structure here used to be much bigger. It's much smaller now and doesn't have a mural painted on it yet. This is a new splitter box that splits the flow between these rectangular structures. These are actually the basins where the biological treatment process takes hold. The water leaves these basins and goes into these 6 clarifiers. Basically, if you can imagine, it goes into a big tank, and as it flows, as the velocity slows down, the solids settle to the bottom and the water flows out the top. So that's why the water looks clear when it comes out of here. So we did some work on the internal components of these clarifiers, and we installed new tertiary filtration equipment in this new structure here. The water that leaves the clarifiers goes through a 4th step of treatment now before it's discharged out into Academy Creek. And you can see the nice drone photo of the marsh. Good reminder of the beautiful area we live in. And we also were able, during the project, to repave all of the streets inside there, which was a big help because they had gotten into some pretty bad shape out there. This is some pictures from the ongoing work at Dunbar Creek. This project's supposed to be wrapped up first quarter of next year. So we're installing new filters and a new UV disinfection system at that facility, as well as replacing some diffusers. So this is some photo here of the ongoing work to build the platform for the filters. So you can see them tying a lot of steel together there, building forms, pouring. They're actually pouring concrete today. Hopefully that went well this afternoon. And then on the right, these are diffusers. You can kind of see these little discs here. There's a bunch of little bitty discs, and they stretch a membrane across that, and it creates fine bubbles, micro bubbles in the water. And what that does is allow the oxygen to transfer into the wastewater, and the bacteria use it as a energy and food source in order to consume the wastewater material as it treats it. So again, that should be finished first quarter of next year. These are water and sewer service extensions. This left map, the yellow, is currently under construction. This is the ARCO area. That's hopefully going to be finished by the end of this calendar year. Hopefully a little bit before, but end of this calendar year would be a good target. These pink areas here are areas that are under engineering design. This is Brunswick Villa. It's a residential area across the railroad tracks from ARCO. And then this is Community Road. It's a commercial area between Haversham and Altama. That section does not have access to sewer, so we are providing sewer access in that area. These blue neighborhoods you see circled here are projects that we hope to get to with the passing of the recent SPLOST referendum. This area here around Whitlock Street and the railroad tracks between Community Road and Townsend Street is kind of a difficult area because it's bordered on about 3 sides by railroad tracks, so it'll be a little more complicated than a normal project, but those customers back there are in need of sewer service and water service. And then on the mainland here, this is Bell Point, and this is Country Club Farms or Country Club Acres. Neither of those, most of those neighborhoods don't have access to sewer, but they do have access to water. And on the island, this is Epworth Acres, and this is St. Clair. Those neighborhoods have access to public water, but not sewer, and they're on septic tanks. So those are potential targets for that SPLOST money as we move forward in the next few years. So upcoming projects on the water side, North Mainland Water Loops is a project to tie together multiple sections of the North Mainland District with water so that we have more flexibility on how to operate our system. And if we do have a problem, we do not end up having to shut down all of exit 38 to fix it. WPF is Water Production Facility. It's essentially a well site with treatment capacity. We're installing a new treatment capacity system at Canal Road or Harry Driggers. There's an existing well that's being converted to a water production facility, very similar to what we did at the Ridgewood facility a couple of years ago on Perry Lane Road. Exit 29 EST, if you recall, is elevated storage tank and or water tower. So at exit 29, we're installing a new water production facility and a new elevated storage tank in that district to improve water availability and stabilize pressures at exit 29. And then at exit 42 in the industrial area at exit 42 and the new development that's going on up there, we're going to install a 750,000 gallon elevated storage tank at exit 29. If you come down I-95 and look to your right as you're coming south, you'll see a area that has no trees on it all of a sudden. That's where the water tower's going. So you can watch it and go up as we can start constructing that. On the sewer side, we have a lot of upcoming projects. Pump station rehabs, that's what we pump the flow in the sewer with. We have 8 of those coming up. We have 165 pump stations, so we always have several pump stations under rehab. CIPP is cured in place piping. That's a way we can basically create a new pipe inside of an old pipe without having to dig up the streets. 4002 basin is in downtown Brunswick. It's one of the older and the largest basin that we have. We're fixing to put out a CIPP project with about 30,000 linear feet of rehab to those old sewer lines. North Mainland Water Pollution Control Facility at exit 42, we are hoping to finalize land acquisition and begin engineering a new wastewater facility at exit 42. As we see the residential and commercial and potential industrial growth at exit 42, it doesn't make a lot of financial sense to continue to pump all the way from exit 42 to downtown Brunswick. So we're looking at installing a new wastewater plant out there that will hopefully serve that region for years to come. And then these next 2 projects, 3103 is a Royal Oak subdivision. It handles all the flow from the Port of Brunswick and the commercial areas around exit 29. And then 4119 is at the end of Golden Isles Parkway and Highway 99. There's a small pump station there you'll see off to the left. Those stations need improvements for rehab and expansion capabilities, and force main is the pipe that we pump through from the pump station. So both of those will be getting new force mains. Those are 2 large projects that engineering should be kicking off within the next 12 months. On the budget for next year, our overall budget for next year is $35.97 million. That's up from a budget this year of $34.4 million. In order to facilitate that overall budget top line item, we're requesting a 25-cent per 1,000 gallons of sewer usage above 1,000 gallons of usage, because that is included in the base. Our average residential customer uses 4,200 gallons of water and sewer per month, so that works out to 80 cents per month, because the first 1,000's in the base, so 3,000 above that would be 75 cents, and then the 200 gallons would be an extra 5 cents. So that total budget increase from 34.4 to 35.97 is 4.6%, but the rate adjustment's only 1.3%. And in the last 4 years combined, we've done a total of 2.1% of adjustments. We're able to increase our budget without having to increase the rate substantially because we have seen continued growth in our region, new customer base coming online, particularly in the North Mainland area. There's been a tremendous water and sewer plants have went up over 100% in the past 12 months. That's not because we are using more chemicals, but they are simply charging us more for it. Electricity, if you're a Georgia Power customer, you probably have heard that your bill starting June 1st is going up about 16%. Well, we pay sizable Georgia Power bills ourselves, so 16% ends up being several $100,000 for our bills. And then property insurance, the commercial property insurance market has went crazy in the south coastal region due to the recent hurricanes, particularly in Florida, and our insurance went up about 40% this year. We have not filed any claims. It's just went up 40% because of market-driven reasons. On the customer service side, 3 things that I talk about every year. Automatic bill pay. If you just want auto draft out of your account, we can do that for you each month, and you never have to worry about missing your payment. If you would like to get a paperless bill, you can sign up for that, and we'll email you your bill instead of mailing you one each month. You can sign up for new service online and actually never have to come see us to start your service. If you're moving into town, that's a great option for you. And then a lockbox location is changing. If you send us a check to the address provided on your bill each month, that is currently being mailed to Orlando, Florida. Now, why do we mail to Orlando? That's because there's a check processing center that scans all of that information, and we get all that information electronically instead of us having to physically open and manually enter 20,000 checks a month. So that goes to a lockbox in Orlando. We are changing banking providers, and with that banking provider change, the new lockbox location will be in Charlotte. So beginning July 1st, your bill will say it is being mailed to Charlotte, North Carolina. You are still paying your bill for the Joint Water and Sewer Commission. It's just where that check processing center is being located at. We continue to refund deposits each month. That's a monthly process. So once you've paid for 36 months consecutively, if you're a residential customer, you will get your deposit refunded. The LIWAP program is Low Income Housing Water Assistance Program. That's a federally funded program that was part of one of the COVID relief bills. For the first year of that program, we were able to help 796 customers for just shy of $350,000. So tremendous improvement for those customers for some past due bills that they had been working to pay down for years. They were able to get that completely wiped away. Hopefully that continues to get funded because that's been a really good program for our customer base. And then if you are worried you're going to forget to pay your bill and you accidentally do forget to pay your bill, you can sign up for text message notifications. So we inform you about 5 days before your water is going to be cut off to let you know that, hey, you forgot to pay your bill. Please come pay your bill so we don't have to cut your water off. So you can sign up for that and call down the office, go to the website. You should be able to find information about that. And here's some maps of all that work I was talking about earlier. You see blue stars are where we have water projects, and green stars is where you have sewer projects. So we've got multiple projects on St. Simon's for both water and sewer, a lot of projects on the mainland for both, and then even a few projects down at Exit 29. We're working everywhere in Glynn County. If you can't really drive more than about 15 minutes in Glynn County without seeing one of our projects going right now, if you are looking around. So trying to make rapid progress on the system, and we're making good progress there. So we're going to continue to invest in rehabbing our systems. And there's my contact information. That's my phone number and my email address. Email is typically a better way of getting me because I'm rarely at my desk. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions in the room and or online. None online. Well, we will be doing this presentation tomorrow at Howard Coffin Park on the mainland if you're wanting to join us. 6 o'clock tomorrow at Howard Coffin, we'll be giving the same presentation. We'll have staff available again tomorrow to answer any questions you may have. But thank you for your time this evening, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow night at Howard Coffin Park.